Hello and welcome to my home. It's about that time again and I started thinking about fertilizers. So this is a little basic tutorial on fertilizers, and one of the main things you need to know are these three numbers that are up here on the various types of fertilizers. They're called the NPK numbers. N is for nitrogen, P is for the phosphorus, and the K is for the potassium. Now these are three basic nutrients that are important to the health and the productivity of your fruits and vegetables. So nitrogen does the following. It helps with the chlorophyll production in your plants, and it helps with the leaf development and those green leafy leaves that come out on your plant. So this nitrogen is very important for spinach and kale and collard greens, for example. Now the phosphorus is important for the blooming, for those buds coming out, for the fruiting of your plants, and for seed formation. So you can see how, for example, fruits like tomato need a good supply of phosphorus in that fertilizer mix. And then the potassium helps with disease resistance and helps the plant intake the water and the nutrients from the soil and from your fertilizer. So those are three very important key elements in your fertilizer. Now you're going to have fertilizers that have other things included in there as well. Some will have micronutrients, but those are the three main categories of nutrients for your fertilizer. Now fertilizer, it can come in a granular form or in liquid form. Now the granular form is a slow release type fertilizer, so it'll fertilize your plants over a series of weeks and months. And to me that's a time saver because I don't necessarily want to have to do a liquid fertilizer every time I water. But the water soluble fertilizer, I'm going to show you one for example. This is a water soluble one, and it'll tell you on the back how you add it to your watering can or to your sprayer if you're doing a large area. But the water soluble gives quick energy and quick food to your plants. So if you need to rectify a situation pretty quickly because you see your plants not thriving very well, you probably want to use some liquid. But when you start your plants off, always use the granular version. Here's an example of a granular version. Now there's all types of companies making these. This is just one of the ones that I use. It's called Dr. Earth. I'm going to open it up and show you what it looks like. I'm not affiliated with Dr. Earth, but I do like their product. There's many others out there that are just as good. One thing I want to address is there a difference between something being called a complete fertilizer versus an all-purpose fertilizer? And I think these two terms are being used interchangeably, but there is a bit of a difference. A complete fertilizer, if you remember those NPK numbers, are going to be the same. For example, it'll be a 5-5-5 or a 10-10-10. That's a complete fertilizer. All three of those numbers are the same. Whereas an all-purpose fertilizer is not necessarily the same. For example, the Dr. Earth that I use is a 4-6-3, and that's an all-purpose fertilizer. Sometimes I wrote down some that I did a little research online. Some of the all-purpose ones I saw were 7-2-10 and 10-15-10. So those are all-purpose fertilizers. I just wanted to note that difference to you when you go in. Now I know a lot of people like to grow tomatoes, and there are some fertilizers specific for tomatoes, and they would normally have an emphasis on that middle number. So they may be something like a 2-5-3, for example, and have some other type of nutrients in there that tomatoes like. So that is, if you're, you love to have your tomato plants growing and that's basically all you grow, you may want to look at just getting a tomato fertilizer. There are other types of additives you can add to your container garden depending on what you're trying to do or what you think the need of that plant is. For example, something like spinach. Most spinach are extreme feeders of nitrogen, and you may even have packages of seeds that even state that on the back of the seed packet, or if you're picking up spinach plants, they may tell you that is a high nitrogen feeder, in which case you want to try to look at maybe some blood meal. Now, blood meal is the remnants of dry slaughtered animals, usually cow or hog. And this is some blood meal that I use. I'm going to show you what it looks like. Now that's the blood meal. It's fairly fine, dry blood. Now I used to be kind of squeamish about using blood meal because it's blood, but it goes through a process and it's safe, and I haven't had any problems with using the blood meal. Now another plus of the blood meal is rabbits and deers and moles do not like the scent of it. So if you have those types of critters coming around, you may want to sprinkle some of that into your containers as an added benefit of using the blood meal. Now, if you really don't want to use blood meal and you want to get the same effects, you can try using the following: Feathermeal or fish fertilizer. Now, blood meal is not the same as bone meal. Blood meal comes from the blood, and just like the name sounds, the bone meal comes from the bones of discarded animals. It's rich in calcium, which can help with your tomato plants, and I'll talk more about tomato plants in another video that I'm going to do about growing tomatoes. If your tomato plants have a calcium deficiency, then you would want to add some calcium, magnesium. The thing about bone meal is that scent of the bone can attract animals like dogs to your garden. And if you have pets, and like dogs, they may not be able to resist the smell, and if you don't keep your fertilizer secure and you get into it, it can cause some stomach distress. And I would say if you have pets, you should try to keep all your fertilizers, even the organic ones, secure and away from your pets. Another good thing about the bone meal is that if you're like doing a lot of flower gardening, that can actually increase the blooming of your flowers, and we need flowers to attract the pollinators, so you may want to keep this fertilizer on hand. In all instances, no matter what fertilizer you use, organic or otherwise, you need to follow the directions on your particular package that you have. Nowadays, since more and more people are container gardening, I find that most, not all, but most, will have directions not just for regular gardening and how to use a fertilizer, but they also do a calculation how to put their fertilizer into your container. So that's good. You don't have to do all that math to try to figure it out for yourself. So everyone's kind of caught up to that. Everyone's kind of container gardening right now. Now, I didn't talk too much about organic versus synthetic fertilizer. I think it's going to be a personal choice. Now, organic fertilizers, like I said, it's organic, it's natural for the most part, and it does take a little longer to break down for your plants to use, but it has less impact on the environment. And one of the reasons why people don't like using the commercial synthetic fertilizer is that the runoff is going into the environment and making its way into our water systems, which is not a good thing. But again, it's a personal choice. I personally use both. I use organic and I use the regular synthetic one as well. I almost forgot fish emulsion. Fish emulsion is also something that I like to use. It has all the NPK that I talked about, plus calcium and some other nutrients that are useful for your garden. You do need to be careful. This is another one of those fertilizers that can burn your plants, their roots and their leaves, so really follow the instructions. Fish emulsion can be particularly smelly, so I don't know how close you are to your neighbors or how many containers you have, but bear that in mind. It will promote nice green leafy vegetables. It also increases microbial activity, which is good for the health of your soil. And since we are doing this in a container, anything you can do to keep the health of your soil up there, I think is a good thing to do. You also may want to consider something like this, a bud and bloom booster. Now this is just one company, there's other companies out there, and this is good also for promoting like if you're growing strawberries or those types of blueberries that have a need for these type of nutrients that are found in the bud and bloom booster, and of course your flowers as well. So that's something else that I've been using. I also have fertilizer suited for strawberries and packaged for blueberries. So those are very specialized fertilizers if you're growing those types of fruits in your garden. And there you go. Fertilizer, the basics. If you like that video, hit the thumbs up like button and consider subscribing to my channel and hit the notification bell so you know when I've uploaded a new video. That's it for now. Bye-bye.